Hello everybody, Cendrell here, and 'tis the season to celebrate spooky things. After completing a massive project like Maple, I wanted to do something simple and fun, and I turned my attention to Missy from the Vampair Series. If you haven't watched the series, go to Daria Cohen's channel and watch the first 6 episodes that she has animated. So, with that character in mind, let's get started! The materials that I use for the dress are 2.5 yards of Costuming's Galaxy Velvet Purple fabric and 1 yard of the Witching Hours cross-dyed stitch velvet in purple green, which you can get at Joann. Before I started cutting any fabric, I drew up a quick sketch of how I wanted my templates to work and swiftly made them into a life-size paper pattern. With the templates ready to go, I laid out the Costuming Galaxy Velvet Purple fabric before overlapping the paper patterns on top of it, pinning around the entire template and cutting the fabric out. I did each panel one at a time, and for the front and back of the dress I made sure to fold the fabric over itself so I had the entire piece. Once all of the fabric pieces were cut out, I removed the pins that kept the front and the back panels folded in half and pinned all of the panels together with the right sides of the fabric facing each other before sewing them together with a straight stitch. When I sewed the seam for the left front panel, I left several inches of it open to make the high slit of the dress. To make the dress straps that would cross over my back, I measured out 2 long lanes of Costuming's Galaxy Velvet Purple fabric before hemming the raw edges and sewing it onto the dress. Since Missy's dress is backless and I wanted some extra support, I made a makeshift built-in bra from some black stretch velvet that I used from a previous costume and 2 bra pads that came from an old swimsuit that I didn't use anymore. Once the bra was complete, I pinned it onto the dress with the right sides facing each other and sewed a straight stitch across it before removing the pins, flipping the fabric to the right sides, and hemming the edges smooth. I also finished the hem of my dress except for the open slit where I would use the Witching Hours cross-dyed stitched fabric. To make the slit detailing, I made a triangular paper pattern and laid it on the folded Witching Hour fabric before cutting it out and getting 2 panels that look like this. With the fabric pinned in place, I sewed a straight stitch down most of the panel, then removed the pins and flipped the fabric so the right sides were facing out. Once the panels were smoothed out, I pinned the stitch edges of the panels to the dress and sewed them together with a straight stitch. The final step of the dress was hand stitching the top where the 2 light purple panels overlapped so that none of the raw edges showed through. And like that, my dress is done! On to the next part. To make the gloves, I started off by making a simple paper pattern based off of my hand measurements and laid it over a folded piece of Costuming's Galaxy's Velvet Purple fabric before cutting it out, pinning the edges together, and sewing the fabric down with a straight stitch. After removing the pins that kept the fabric together, I hemmed the bottom and top edges of the glove to give them a smooth finish. Using a small amount of golden elastic band to make the ring portion of the glove, I pinned the band on top of the glove's top and sewed it together with a zigzag stitch before closing the ends of the elastic band together to form the ring. And this is how the glove turned out. Simple but effective and super comfortable. To make the hairpin, I drew half a bat on a folded piece of paper, cut the shape out, transferred it onto 2mm and 4mm craft foam in which I glued them together with rubber cement. Once the glue was dry, I applied 2 layers of Plastidip onto the bat and painted a few layers of Folk Art 6301 Platinum Metallic acrylic paint before adding a pin clip that will pierce through the hairband that is keeping my wig bun together. For the choker, I used a long strand of black stretch velvet that I sewed snap buttons to before adding this 2mm crystallized trim with gold backing and hand sewed that onto the necklace in order to get this. Missy will not be Missy without the cane, so let's make this quick. I started off with an inch-thick PVC pipe that was cut down to 3 feet before adding a bottom base using 2mm and 4mm craft foam and piecing it together with hot glue. For the little bat, I started off with a paper pattern, then transferred it twice on the 4mm craft foam before gluing them together and placing it on a round base made of the same material. To add some detailing, I used 2-part epoxy sculpt and applied it onto the bat to build its fuller shape and form the sharper details of the wing. Once I finished sculpting the bat, I glued it onto the staff before spraying 3 layers of black Plastidip over the entire cane. With the cane ready to paint, I used PBO Sectacolor semi-opaque paint and amethyst for the staff, Folk Art 6301 Platinum acrylic paint for the cane's cap, and a combination of Apple Barrel's 20503E white acrylic paint and Golden's iridescent pearl fine acrylic paint for the bat. I also used Scribble's 3D fabric paint in deep red for the eyes, and for the ribbon below the bat and on the top portion of the cane, I used a small length of burgundy suede and hot glued it onto the staff. The final details that pulled the entire costume together were the belt that was a longer length of the 2mm crystallized trim that I used for the choker, the tights that I purchased from Walmart, the kitten heel ankle strap pumps, an ombre purple wig that I bought from Amazon, the ears that I bought a long time ago from a Renaissance festival, and the red contacts from Honey Color. And this is how Missy turned out. In contrast to Maple, who was a little restricting and had a lot of pieces, Missy was much easier to maneuver around in and didn't require so many things to piece it together. It was also the first time that I actually decided to make something backless, and it was a fun challenge trying to figure out how to keep the dress formed to my body without anything showing. The only minor issue that I had was that I wish I made the cane a little bit shorter, but since Missy stole it from Duke, the height of it works well enough.
Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you want to see more content like this, make sure to hit the subscribe and notification bell, and I'll see you in the next video. Ciao!